Welcome back to the Mullsdale Foundation Museum. I'm Dave Neal, and we're here this weekend to meet the Mackenzies. Neil, Taylor, Tarran, welcome to the Mullsdale Foundation, gents. It's great to see you.
Always a pleasure to come here. It's a lot of exploring to be done here, and you can't do all that in a day. So yeah, it's always nice to come back and revisit.
Taylor, you've done a little bit over the last couple of days looking at some of the exhibits as well.
Yeah, I had a really privileged experience to be able to go behind the scenes and look at some of the cars and bikes up close. So yeah, I got an exciting video coming that I'm excited to share with everyone, and just really blew my mind with what was on offer here.
And Tarran, we've got some little bit of extra news for you as well, haven't we, in terms of the foundation and Optical Express?
Yeah, exactly. Ran the colours for the first time last week in the limited laps I did do in Jerez, but yeah, amazing to announce it all and show to the public what David and the guys have put together, and Michael, the team manager. So yeah, excited to show it all this year in World Superbike.
I'm looking forward to coming on to that later on in the conversation, but as the ladies and gentlemen can see on the cameras behind us, we've got a great selection of history, of Mackenzie history, sat behind us, from Grand Prix bikes to the iconic Silverstone Armstrong, your first Grand Prix bike, your Red Bull Rookies bike, and the Bathams BMW as well. When you look back behind you, Neil, and you see that history, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, it's only when you talk about it like that, because a week or two ago, these bikes are all stacked up in my garage gathering dust, and you actually don't realise what you've got in there. It's nice to have a bit of space in the garage again. But like you say, every one of these bikes has got amazing history and stories behind it, and like they look gorgeous as well. They're all beautiful and all immaculate. So it's nice. It's nice that they're not in my garage gathering dust, and people can come here and enjoy seeing them again. I'm sure there'll be a wide range of kind of ages coming today, and they'll remember different bikes at different times. But it is so nice to set them out like this and let everybody come and enjoy seeing them.
We'll get a couple of stories on the bikes later on, because there is such a rich history there. Taylor, for your Bathams BMW and for your first GP bike from 2010?
2010, yeah.
From 2010 on the RS125, again, your history there, the bike that you took from last to first at Donington Park in that epic race a few years ago. You can see the smile on your face now.
We're really lucky to have that one, because it was actually then built into Michael Rutter's bike the following year, but he didn't end up racing it. And then it was a bit of a strange story. That bike was due to be sold to a sponsor of mine, and Michael said, would I mind coming to Silverstone just to check that it ran right? And we sort of went, are you selling this bike? And like, we suddenly realised that was the last chance, because I'd stopped racing at that point. That was the last chance I could actually own one of my own race bikes, and it was the bike. There was nothing had changed on it. So yeah, we ended up grabbing it. It's actually the only thing that has changed is it's got an Isle of Man TT sticker on it, because Michael was going to race it at the TT and didn't end up racing it. So nice bit of history, and I'm really glad that we kept that bike.
And I feel for you, Taz, because you've only got one bike there.
Yeah.
Dad's got three, Taylor's got two, and then there's your Red Bull Rookies bike at the back there.
Yeah.
As we spoke before we came on, that Red Bull Rookies season, do you 12 and 13?
Yeah, 2012 and 2013. So it was the last year of two strokes. So that's why we have the bikes at the end of the year. Any current riders or ex-riders were eligible to buy the bikes. So yeah, Dad bought one, and a few other people, I think Kyle Ride and Brad Ray, they also got some. So yeah, it was really cool to keep that. And then the following year was first year of four strokes.
And when you look at the entry list, I remember going out to Misano back in 2013 with Jordan Weaving, and you got Toprak Razgatlioglu in there. There's John Mir, there's Jorge Martin. Bezzecchi wasn't.
Not Bezzecchi, there was a Bastianini.
Bastianini was the other one.
There was, I joke now because my Red Bull rookie career was okay. Wasn't exceptional like some people, but it wasn't bad. But now, 10 years on, when you look back on the entry list, who was there, and I kind of realised when there's MotoGP World Champions and World Superbike Champions, realised why I was probably a little bit average at the time. But no, it's incredible to be a part of, and nice to keep some history from it too.
You've gone on to greater things.
I've done okay.
You've done all right after that, with a Super Sport Championship and a British Superbike Championship, World Super Sport race winner, you know.
No,
you've done more than a lot of people.
I can't complain. No, it's but a lot of it probably did stem from Rookies Cup, and a lot of people's careers they've done. Yeah, if you look, from the beginning to even present now, the people that have gone on to do amazing things is incredible. So yeah.
One thing that I think is brilliant, and thank you for the three of you joining us this morning before we do the Meet the Mackenzies with the live audience here at the Molesdale Foundation Museum, is having all three of you together in the same room at the same time. As Mum was saying earlier, that doesn't happen too often. So it's great to have you say, but now we can do the conversation about growing up and the stories and
When's that happening?
I'm glad you said that. Growing older, how's that?
Yeah.
Because none of us want to grow up.
Yeah.
That's the great thing. No, it's not the right thing. So as you've grown older over the years, with Dad's influence, Dad's career before you were born and post, and then your career's coming in. What was it like growing up as a Mackenzie?
Do you want to turn the cameras off? Or I think one thing that I picked up on as a child was a lot of people who would be of Dad's age would say, "Oh, what's it like having Neil Mackenzie as your dad?" But as a child, he's just your dad, so I didn't know any different. It was only when I grew older, he's an idiot like everyone else's dad and annoying and tells you off. So there was no real difference. But it was only when we grew older you could see what he'd done in his racing career and have an appreciation for how special he was on a motorbike. So yeah, it was no different to anyone else's childhood. The one thing I guess is motorbikes were just part of our life from birth. I was in the paddock when I was
3 months old.
Yeah, was traveling around doing GPs, so that's always been my life. So looking back now, it was probably impossible that I was going to be anything but a motorbike racer. And we weren't particularly good at any other sport until we started riding motorbikes. Then we realised we were all right at that. So yeah, it's hard to compare to anything else, but that's our childhood, and we had a great time and very privileged and very lucky to experience the life we had.
When was the tipping point that you realised that when Dad's steering you through your careers and you have to do everything right and everything, there's a certain way to do things, but you also realised he had a really good time in GPs before phone cameras, before things like that? When did you start realising the stories that hang on, Dad, you're telling us to do this, but we know you did that?
Yeah, I think that he hates it's like kills him inside that he's done all that, and then but yeah, I think probably only when it was appropriate to tell some stories when we were a little bit older that we understood that there was other stuff that went on.
Looking at me.
Unfortunately or fortunately, I mean, my mates do not hold back. People like Whittam, Rob Mack, Kevin Schwantz will be around, so nothing is off the table. So they get, whether I want them to know anything or not, it's out there, because all my contemporaries don't really care. So it's like, so it's just as it is. But yeah, not ever a problem. And all three of us see it as comedy most of the time. So it's yeah.
Mum doesn't.
I mean, you're talking about growing up or not growing up. We're downstairs before having a coffee, and Taylor's mum's still saying, "Taylor, you're so flipping childish, making stupid jokes." And so obviously no one's grown up yet. But as I said, then we didn't get where we are today with being growing up at any point. So life carries on like that. But most of the time it's quite amusing.
I think we have to, we speak about Jan, the glue that holds everything together, without a shadow of a doubt, and one of the most endearing relationships in the paddock with yourselves, and as mum to you guys as well. Behind every great man, there's always an even greater woman. So we must give a nod to Jan, because she's been there and seen it all with all three of you.
100%. I mean, I was lucky to meet Jan in the first place. Even luckier that she's stuck around for 40 years, because I always say it's not always easy, but it's never boring. And yeah, so she had my career, and she was a rock behind me. She's been in most medical centres around the world, and she's done a lot. She's had me being grumpy and upset, and she's also had the good times as well, but she's always been the same. So, and the whole danger thing, when it's your boyfriend or your husband, she always said, you can always replace your husband, but you can't replace your children. So it's a whole different dynamic when they started racing. And then that came along, and that she's dealt with that really well, because she understands racing, and so she's been in lots of medical centres since as well. But she just gets on it. She understands how it works, and we've always had her full support. But not with the exception of Anne Haslam, I don't know any other two mums in the racing world that have had to go through the same thing.
They've just celebrated their Ruby wedding as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Ron and Anne. Yeah, congratulations to Ron and Anne as well. When it came time for the boys to start racing, what was your mindset in that? Was it encouragement, or did you have to, like, you boys are going to have to want this because I know...
I pushed them so hard they didn't want to do any of it.
Of the stories.
We all... But no, what happened there was obviously, it all started with mini motos and PW50s, and that mainly happened because they were free. And so there was riding around the garden, having fun, falling over. Everything was fun for both myself and Jan, but before you know it, you're standing on a pit wall watching them flying by 100 miles an hour. And it was at that point we both looked at each other and said, "Oh man, what have we done?" Because then you understand what your parents went through, worrying about the dangers. So that was a bit of a kind of defining moment. What have we done? But of course, at that point, it's too late. They're totally addicted to the job, and they're not going to stop racing. So you just have to kind of deal with it and get on with it. And we also at that time had the conversation that this is probably going to get injured a few times a year, and it can be really dangerous. And they both said, well, we'd much rather carry on, do that, take a chance, as sit at home not doing it. So we justified it by them saying that, and on we went. But yeah, it's just also I've got a lot of ex-riders and friends that have had sons that have been given bikes when they're young and they haven't wanted to go racing or do any more, and that's fine. So they were honestly never forced into it, but it was nice that they were keen to carry on and make careers in the racing world.
Is that how you remember it?
We joked that he pushed us into it, but he did. Yeah. I don't know if anyone's watched Mad Mark, but that's where Dad lets his alter ego slip and people can actually see what he's really like.
Well, this is what I was going to ask. How close is Mad Mark to...
We're very lucky. We've had an incredible relationship as father and son's relationship go. We had one fallout for an afternoon once in 15 years of racing, which is abnormal, really. No one else does that.
And whose fault was that?
Mine. Well, I just needed to go and have a word with myself, really, because the whole Mad Mark thing is interesting because Mad Mark is based on observations mostly of us three have observed other dads throughout our racing careers and always said, God, we must never be like that. So a lot of that is based on fact, which always made us laugh. And it was only through COVID that it all came out. Having said that, Jan will tell you that she lives with Mad Mark. She goes, I live with that guy. I know that guy. So it was painful.
Mad Mark comes out more in like not to do with racing. It's more just the day-to-day things when you see him on a lawnmower or up a set of ladders or I don't know, chopping wood.
Yeah.
Like that's probably where Mum is living with Mad Mark.
Yeah,
and
trimming the trees. And it's not that long since you moved into the new place as well. So there'll be all sorts of things that you've got to do. And
well, we kind of left the Mad Mark Ranch behind, so we've moved on to Sensible House, and we can't really do any of that stuff.
We've got neighbours now.
We've got neighbours, but it's still all in there, and sometimes a lot of it is practical and it saves money and it works. I always say to Taylor and Taz when I'm not a very good mechanic or engineer, but I always say might not look pretty, but it'll work. And if I was that guy who got stranded on a desert island with, and there was no hope of survival, I would find a way to survive. I would make a raft, and I'd repair the airplane engine, and it would work. It might not get very far, but I do believe that is my role in life. But I've got no apprenticeship, I've got no engineering skills, and everything is a bit rough and ready when it comes to that side of things. So yeah, there's an element of Mad Mark in there, but most of the time I'm sensible.
But does that not reflect on your childhood of Dad of having that element to, before Mad Mark was ever invented? He's not the normal dad in any way, shape or form. And like I say about growing up, that's been an integral part of making you the men that you are today.
Yeah, yes. But you would think that with all of his racing experience when we first started, that would play a part into bike preparation and stuff like that. But I just got Taylor's hand-me-downs. That's pretty much how it worked for maybe 3-4 years. So my first kind of race bike or getting on a big track was riding super teens. So I got Taylor's old super teen bike. But if you asked people in the paddock at the time, some people might say, oh, our bike was amazing. But the people that actually know, it's that our bike was completely standard. The first time Dad took it to scrutineering, there was no chain guard. So he had to cut a Windoline bottle and cable tie it. He never drained the tank of fuel. I was brought up knowing that this bamboo stick he had
Out the garden.
that he had put Sharpie round for 1 litre, 2 litres, that if you just put it down like a dipstick in your car engine, you'd pull it out, and if it was wet, we've still got a litre left. So that was just how we went racing to begin with. So maybe there was an element of Mad Mark at the start, but I think maybe we just thought that was normal. But then also what we probably didn't understand at the time is what the other side of Dad from the riding point of view and racing and training and all of that was just quite normal to us, and maybe we took it for granted a little bit and probably didn't understand what Dad did until later on in life. So I think that's maybe
They both started with it's the same bike in Aprilia Super Teens, and it was bog standard. It wasn't the best, and there was a lot of families in there spending a lot of money with really nice bikes. So my justification was, let's just learn the tracks, learn to ride the bikes. But if you'll always, wherever you finish, add 10 places onto that, because that is how bad the bike is. So if you're 16th, you're 6th, you're 12th, you're 2nd. And I said, trust me, do not, the number, the result is on there, doesn't really count. This is where you would be a nice bike. So that meant we saved money for later on in their careers. I mean,
when I got to Super Stock and I was 14, I said that was a fall.
Yeah.
That's what we said about the bike when I did that piece to the camera the other day. Give you an extra championship.
Taylor once, as a 14 or 15-year-old, says, don't think Powerval's working in this bike. And I went, it's just a shit bike. But sure enough, Powerval was seized.
Wedge shot.
Taylor's been riding it for I don't know how many races, but anyway.
But you spent a lot of years with staff.
Yeah, but he was never going to pay
Teams.
staff to come along.
No, that's what I mean. So you spent a lot of years with these great motorcycles behind us with staff and great mechanics, great teams around you.
Yeah.
With everything done for you, and then you got to mentor the boys then.
And therein lies the problem. Everything was done for me, and I didn't really pay attention to what they were doing. But bikes were always immaculate.
Yeah.
I could throw them upside down as many times. I didn't crash a lot, but when I did, the next time out in the garage was a brand new bike there. And so there was 2 reality checks there. One, I was rubbish at preparation, so I was kind of did what I could. And also when they turned their bike on its roof, I had to pay for it. So I that was when reality hit as well. Someone's been paying for that all of these years, and I never really, because I was lucky enough to be in good teams. So it's a bit of a baptism of fire, but we just kept going and found a way. I mean, we did mad things like we being Red Bull rookies in Assen or Brno and drive overnight to get back. When Taylor's trying to get his license, we do 3 race weekends and 3 race meetings in one weekend just to get signatures on his license, including mad things like the plum pudding meeting at Mallory Park. We do just all kinds of mad stuff, but it's just what you do. And it was all fun. I always when we're heading out the gate at 3:00 in the morning to try and get on a Ryanair flight to go somewhere or driving to a racetrack, we're all knackered, and I say whatever happens, there'll be a story Sunday night. And that goes for anyone that goes racing. It's so good to go racing because it's just an adventure. Sometimes it was more successful than others.
This is the great thing about racing, and usually it's the mechanics that have the best stories to tell because they don't care who they upset. But we've not done any background for this. There's no stories that are going to come out about any of you at any point in this. But it's that family bond that you've had and the pride that you have in seeing the championships that they've won and the effort and the toil and the support from Jan as well. They've done all right, haven't they?
I've done all right, and it's
And
tough.
continue to do so.
Yeah, it's tough, and sometimes you go 2 or 3 weekends of race meetings and it's not happening. But one thing I feel like I always was with him was honest, and if it was not ever going to happen, then we wouldn't be wasting money. And I always said, I keep supporting you because I truly believe, and I know because I've been there and done it, and I know it will work if everything's right. There's so many elements in racing to get right, the bike and the preparation and everything and experience, and so that's why we kept going and we gave it our all. Taylor decided to stop when he stopped, but he certainly went out with a bang. He was proved he's still probably the best stock thousand rider in the country at the time, and then went out with race win, and that was fine because he realised he could move on, but he kind of made his mark, and then we carry on with Taz. But yeah, it's just this is what we do. We kind of, I'd like to think we're not deluded, and we're doing it for the right reasons, and we know that I know things can work. So yeah.
Well, I think the success and the respect that the Mackenzie name holds, and you as individuals, shows that it was the right decision, and it continues to go that way. Boys, take me to 2016. Both of you winning a championship in the same season through the BSB, yourself in Stock Thousand, yourself in Supersport. What an incredible season to have two brothers winning separate championships in the same year.
Yeah, it was, funnily for me, off the back of one of the worst seasons in my career. And it was kind of the end of that season. I basically went to a track day and rode a bike because I told myself I'm going to have one more crack at this because, as we said, we deep down believed it was good enough, but I hadn't really had the opportunity to do that. So I went to a track day, rode a bike, thought I really enjoyed riding this S1000. Let's just get on as good a bike as any next year. Rode for Build Base. Weirdly, coincidence or not, me and Taz both read a book that winter that really triggered something in both of our minds, and we were dedicated every year, but that year specifically, for whatever reason, it all just clicked. And it's incredibly difficult for a season to click for one rider, but to have two in two different championships with two different teams, the chances of that are very slim. So yeah, we just set off at the start of the year, and I don't know why, but that year there was just no way I wasn't going to win the championship. It was just, had it in my head from the start of the year, that's what was going to happen. And then things started coming together for Taz too at the same time. And it was great. It was a weird sensation every weekend. We just go away, just win, come back, reset, go again the next weekend. And I don't know, I knew, I wanted to get mine done first to put the pressure back on Taz, so I had an easier path. But even then, we'd talk about trying to save money and do things. That year, we just bought one championship winning helmet between us, and I used it at one weekend, and he used it the next weekend. We were a little bit superstitious and didn't want to tempt fate, so we didn't get that done until after I'd won my championship, and then Taz used it. But it was an incredible year. You look back now, and racing's such a funny sport because the hardest years are when you're finishing 14th and 13th, and the bike's not working, and you're having mechanical problems. And when you're winning, which you would think would be the most difficult thing, it's the easiest thing in the world. It was like we couldn't do anything wrong that year. Even if we were having a bad weekend, you still nearly won the race. So if only every year in racing was that easy. I watch Marc Marquez sometimes. I think that must be what it feels like most years for him. But yeah, incredible year. Look back, we're very proud of what we did. We won multiple races and broke lap records and won both championships, and both won our championships by winning the race. So yeah, it was an incredible year.
Yourself with Build Base BMW, yourself with Stouff and GR Motorsport, with Brent Gladwin.
Yeah.
Just a recently retired Brent Gladwin.
Yeah.
We wish him all the very best in his retirement for Brent. But to have that championship then in British Supersport against the likes of Brad Ray, it was that both were stacked fields at the time, so that every championship's earned. But sometimes when you look at the grid and you look at your peers around you, they can mean a little bit more when the grid's as stacked as they were. So to have that in the Supersport class as well, that was a special time for you.
Yeah, it was. And at the start of that year, Brent's workshop got broken into and all bikes got stolen, so we missed a bit of testing. And we kind of set a plan out anyway between us that it was my first year in British Supersport, so we were just thinking if we can get close to a podium or try and win a race and then try and come back the next year and win or fight for the championship, then that was kind of the plan. But it kind of got turned on its head a little bit by kind of middle of the year. I ended up leading the championship, and then as time went on, Taylor said it was like almost a bad race was a fourth or a fifth, but then a good race was normally winning or on the podium. So it started to become a bit more real as the season went on. And then sometimes a rookie in a championship coming from Superstock 600, it's not often that a rookie would win British Supersport. Like you said, with a lot of experienced people, there's people like Jake Dixon and Andy Reid and Luke Jones, like James Westmoreland, people that have had a lot of experience in Supersport. So for me to come in and end up winning was amazing, and a bit of a story with Brent's workshop getting broken into and all that. And I think it was the first championship maybe for Brent, or a championship in a very long time for him. So it was pretty special. And then to do it with the same year as Taylor was great. So yeah.
And from Dad's point of view for 2016?
Yeah, well, it was just kind of business as usual every weekend. And then a good friend of mine said in the middle of the season, you know, you could have both your lads winning championships the same year. And it was like, didn't really thought about it. It's one of these, you just kind of doing everything you can every weekend. And then it's just, but I can never tempt fate and take anything for granted. And until it was done, I didn't. And it's the same when Taz won the Superbike Championship. I couldn't certainly celebrate or think about it happening until it was done, because I'm just, I'm really averse to tempting fate. But yeah, it all happened, and it was magical. But it said a lot about where they were in their careers. It all come together at Brands at the last round. Taylor had already won his championship. Taz won it that weekend. And then there was no big celebration. It was like job done. It was a relief. We had a curry at the top of the hill Sunday night, and then went home, and it was like, okay, onwards to the next thing. But it was, we were obviously chuffed to bits, but it was just one of these. And it was one of these moments where you think, oh yeah, the hard work has paid off. And I'm just thinking there's a little bit of Mad Mark element to things. And one thing with both of them, I always said, if you put the effort in, do your thing at school, train, everything, then I'll keep going. And I never once could question that. I mean, some mornings I felt really bad. I'd be he's 14 or 15, I'm getting him out of bed to go in the gym before breakfast, before school. And I kind of look out the window and he's running along the road in the dark. And I go,
yeah, doing my paper round, I might add.
Yeah, paper, I'm running, I'm training, and I'm thinking, is this right? Because and so there's a few moments where I knew I was a little bit mad, but I needed to see that. And for them, it paid off, because I would always keep going. There's never any possibility of giving up when they're putting that kind of effort in, because and I couldn't blame them if they didn't want to, because it wasn't really right for teenagers to be doing that. But anyway,
I think going back to when we were first started, maybe that's where we were so lucky to have Dad, but we didn't realise at the time when I'm getting up at 6 to go in the gym before school. I'm in year 8 at school, and I just feel sick, and I've now got to run on a treadmill. But I think that was maybe Dad's way of trying to suss out if we actually wanted to do it and get up, and are we willing to put the effort in and make sure our kit's clean and we're packed and we're ready. And there would be a couple of times, we always joke that our old house, we would drive out and there would be a roundabout and you'd get to the roundabout and pretty much you'd jumped on either you're going north or south, you'd onto a motorway.
Point of no return.
Yeah, and he used to always ask us the question just as he's turning on the slip road, did you put your helmet in? But he would know that we haven't, because he's obviously checked that we're 14-year-old, 16, whatever. And then he would do it on purpose, so he'd have to get off, turn around, come back, go back. But it was just his way of probably not, it was never hard on us, but it was just the thing to be like, you need to...
It is lessons learned, isn't it?
And then he would never say anything, and he always go, that he'd turn around and go, that's slack, that is. And then we'd carry on, and me and Taylor are sitting there like crapping ourselves, like, oh my God, we forgot our boots.
The one thing he didn't mention was one morning we were driving up the drive, and the drive was up a little bit of a slope, and we'd both put our helmets in, remembered our boots and leathers. What Dad hadn't remembered was attaching the caravan. Caravans. As we got up to the top, it levelled off, rolled back down towards the house, and nearly hit the house. That's like
that was like...
That was his way of trying to teach us without telling us, really, and I think it definitely worked. And the training side of it as well, like, I think Taylor took pride. He's got a bit of a dad bod now, but I take pride in my training.
I'd buy that for a dad bod to replace mine. If that's what a dad got, that looks like a very... I'm going to shut up and breathing in.
I'll be the fat uncle one day. But yeah, I think that was one thing is when I compare to other people growing up, like they wouldn't be training or wouldn't be doing what we were doing. And I think that was something we'd learned a lot from Dad being younger, his preparation training. I think as time went on, it became so normal.
Yeah.
And
that's what you do.
yeah, whereas other kids where their dads probably bike prep was maybe a little bit better and they were maybe a bit more talented. I was pretty useless as a kid. And I think that was the other side. We were maybe more prepped for the long run, not a
Long game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it worked.
What was school time like? Because it is difficult when you're trying to forge your career. But then, as you say, that was something that was quite telling, that you're training before you go to school. I take it at the school, there weren't other athletes doing the same thing. So you would stick out like a sore thumb because you had a career to look forward to. And that's what you were aiming for, which is incredible at 14, 15 years old.
We had different experiences at school. I'd say I was, for whatever reason, a little bit more academic, and Mum and Dad used it as not in a bad way, but used it as a lever to make me stick in at school. The whole time we were racing, we were always brought up to say that the chances of this actually working are zero. There's so many, and when we look back now, the amount of kids we raced against that didn't make it or didn't forge a career out of it. So we were always brought up that you need to stick in at school and you need to have an education, because if this doesn't work out, there's a plan B. So they managed to make me really stick in, and I got 6 A stars and 6 A's in my GCSEs alongside my racing. Where that then became difficult was then when I got to A levels and I was still doing my A levels, I then got into GPs at that time. And I think my attendance went to 32%, and I was still trying to do my A levels. I actually did one of my A levels in a race weekend at Assen. So in between or after FB1, we drove to Amsterdam or somewhere.
Yeah,
The school moved my exam to Holland to do that. So it was a big commitment. The school were really supportive. It was a little bit different because it's 10, 15 years ago now, and schools were a little bit more relaxed about that type of thing. And yeah, I did have one weird teacher that I've told him I got into GPs, and I said, I'm going to have to drop physics because I'm just never here. And he said, well, how long's your contract for? And I said, well, a year. And he went, well, what are you doing after that? And I hope he's still sat there teaching physics to kids he doesn't like, because it worked out in the end.
So what about yours?
My school experience was completely different to Taylor's. Well, I enjoyed lunchtime, break time, PE, and there was no plan B for me because I wasn't naughty or mischievous, but I just wasn't bothered, and it was bare minimum. If I could just do the bare minimum, that was happy. And I remember, I got my GCSE results when I was in Czech Republic at a Red Bull rookie race, and there was I can't even remember, going down, pass, and we got a B in something, and they were buzzing. Whereas when Taylor told Mum and Dad his GCSE results, he got
not me.
6 A stars and a B, and Mum never said anything about passing the exams. It was just, what did you get the B in? And it was disappointed he got a B, where it's high fives all around for me when I got a B. So it was just different. I don't know. Taylor was more academic and he was going to go to uni at one point, whereas for me it was just never like that. It wasn't that I just wanted to be a motorcycle racer, because Taylor did too. But yeah, I just had one goal in mind, and that's what I was going to try and do. And even then, I came out of school and had part-time jobs and stuff, but still was beelining to just try and make it happen, and luckily it did. So
Tarran was once asked what he would do if the racing career didn't work out, and he said, well, I always got football to fall back on. So that was plan B. He's quite a good footballer, but I mean, something I could help him with.
I wish I didn't do plan B that. Well, better, but no.
It was where you'd been at.
Yeah, we were very sporty as kids, and Mum and again took it for granted, as most kids do. But we were doing every after-school club, was in the cricket club team, football team, doing every sport at school. Basically, did every sport at school. So I knew if I played hockey, cricket, rugby, that if I was on all these teams, there was a good chance most weeks I was going to get to dip out and go play in another school somewhere at lunchtime. So
Wednesday afternoons.
exactly. So that was part of the reason. But yeah, the school was really supportive of bike racing as well. Every now and then we had to say if on a Thursday I've got a wedding, and I would be leaving, and I had about 12 weddings that year, one of the years, but they were pretty good. So
I remember working with a young lad when you talk about qualifications and things like that. And the young lad came into the factory I used to work at, and we were chatting away about qualifications. And I said, "What did you get at school? Did you do all right?" He said, "Well, you can spell fudge with my qualification." Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on to these beautiful bikes behind us, because this is the history of the Mackenzie family. This is Meet the Mackenzies at the Molesdale Foundation. Neil, we'll start with your bikes here, because there's so many more stories than the boys can tell with theirs at the moment. We'll come on to your boys in a bit. You've got a bigger story as well. When you look at the Silverstone Armstrong 250, the Yamaha YZR 500, the YZF 750, how much pride is there in those machines and the history as you look back?
Yeah, they could. These bikes could all tell a million stories. For where to start, the Armstrong's pretty special. That's an '85 bike. That bike's kind of way ahead of its time. It's Rotax engine, tandem twin, carbon fiber chassis built by Reynard. So, and Armstrong at that time were CCM. Armstrong were an automotive company that bought over CCM. Continued to make army bikes, off-road bikes, and then they had a race program as well. So they built these 250 machines. So I was very lucky to be in the team, or be chosen for the team. And that bike in '85, I won 250 British Championship, which was great. Again, good competition. My teammate Donnie McLeod and Alan Carter on a very good Honda at the time. So we had a really nice fight all season. So I managed to win that, and took a lot of lap records along the way. So I really was at one with the bike. I really enjoyed the bike. I won some international races as well in Holland, in Australia. We took it to Australia end of the year. I was on the podium Northwest 200 with Joy as well. So just an amazing bike. And I've got my schedule from that year, and I did 33 race weekends, which was incredible. Did all GPs, did the full World Championship as well. Scored my first World Championship point in Sweden. So I did all the World Championship, all the British Championship, and then any little international races in between, including the Northwest 200. So it was just it was an amazing year. Stayed in one piece all year, had a few offs, but nothing serious. So it really was incredible. The team at the time was managed by Chaz Mortimer, who was a great mentor for me. And he was from an era where you used to just race as much as you can, and you get a few quid along the way. So it was, for me, that was fine. I just wanted to ride and race, and then so he managed all of that, and we just it's just manic from beginning of the year till the end of the year. So that was a very special bike.
And they're the hard yards that you put into these two, because that you've got to go and do it. When you talk about getting your 3 meetings in a weekend to get your signatures and there's no substitute for bumming seat time. I know that things were different in the mid 80s and the 90s. You could just rock up at a GP and get an entry if you had the bike and you qualified. But as things change, but that determination to succeed and that resilience. I
mean, I just wanted to ride all the time, race all the time. What you don't realize, you're learning more and more stuff every weekend. Your muscle memory, just understanding things, and I always felt for these guys when they started racing, they'd see, oh, I can't beat them, and so just maybe like I got a season or a couple of seasons on you, and you just, as the seasons go on, suddenly they're getting closer, and then they're alongside them, and then they're beating guys that they thought was impossible to beat, and it just takes time. And it's important for all youngsters to think, oh, I'm never going to make it at this, but it really is an apprenticeship, and I believe the longer you ride, you're still learning stuff. Taz, I'm sure would agree that he's still taking in, especially with modern bikes as well, learning a lot, riding techniques, fitness. His training's always evolving. It's got some pretty trick bikes around him now, so the learning process never stops. And same for me as well. I'm still learning, and I can't do that stuff anymore, but I understand it all, and it's just a never-ending process, really.
What's it been like we'll just cut over to the bikes a second. Transferring from the MIE Honda to the MGM Ducati mid-season, what was that like from your point of view? Because they are quite different bikes.
Yeah, pretty much chalk and cheese, to be honest. But I think I think from
That wasn't a throw you under
no
the question, right?
I
realised that was it.
saying that saying a few
That was an innocent question. You realise that?
from jumping off it at or stopping in Misano to riding in Balaton, the physical aspect was different and a lot less physical to ride the Ducati than the Honda. And electronics, everything was kind of mapped. The way it worked was very similar, but the Ducati was better and just probably a bit easier to ride was the biggest thing. It's quite different as well with a V4 to get my head around that. Stopping the bike, electronics worked a little bit differently, and yeah, I think that if I had to pick one thing, it was more the physical aspect. It was just a lot easier. I felt like I was I'm fit and quite strong, but yeah, sometimes it used to take it out of me at certain tracks with the bike, and I felt like you had to ride. I could ride more like myself. I always felt like I had to force it on the Honda, and there was so many question marks the whole time of wondering if it's me or the bike. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, and there's still a lot to learn and to do on the Ducati for sure. But I could just ride more like myself and be a bit more free with it. And with that,
The technical support was massive. Just that was a huge help.
Yeah, also like sharing data, and it's like one big family. Like you get to see everyone's data, whereas it's a little bit different at Honda, and they just, I think as manufacturers, they work different. And it was a real blessing to get on it at Hungary for sure. And even now with a new bike, there's no hiding anything. Everything, you can speak to everyone that you need to speak to, and I think it just proofs in the pudding. It just shows there's so many bikes on the grid now, so many Ducatis and so many successful riders and teams, and it doesn't matter if you're a factory team or an independent team, you can still churn a result out when everything's right. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
It showed in the results, didn't it? Propelled straight into the top 10 pretty much from the get-go.
Exactly. In Hungary, it was 8th, and then as the year went on, I had some good rounds and some tough rounds. Estoril was a little bit tough, but Aragon was good. And then the last round, it was just it was completely different for me, because I'd done 2 years of people coming by and I'd see them for 2 corners and they're off, and then or I don't want to get in the way of people, or my mindset changed completely. And I think those last 5 rounds was really nice, just to build some confidence and to just feel like my old self again. That's what I said I just wanted to do, and ended up from wobbling around at the back, hanging on to second last, third last place, and then crashing to then finishing top 10 and in the Super Pole race in Jerez. Was 7th and battling with Locatelli, and I hadn't seen Locker in 2 years. So people might say, it's only because of the bike, but also I was the same person and the same rider. I didn't jump on the Ducati and suddenly gain a load of XP, and I'm a lot better now. So it was just me, and I think it was just nice for, I think, all of us, just because I've been moaning and complaining and doubting myself, and people around me telling me that it's me and it's not the bike, and there's nothing wrong with the bike, and then to change to a different manufacturer and show what I can do was great. So can't wait for this year.
And you've seen that journey close hand, because you've been working alongside Taz, haven't you, as his rider helper?
Yeah, I started off as
fluffer's not the right word.
Well, I did start as the fluffer, but I wasn't particularly good at it, I will admit. The first weekend he drank his drink on the grid, and he looked at me like, "What have you put in this?" I said, "It's water." And he was like, "It is not water." And I realised I put sparkling water in the bottle. So we're not off to a great start there. But luckily,
he didn't get enough GCSEs, unfortunately, for that.
I would have been overqualified if he had.
Overqualified. That's what you are. Overqualified.
So quite quickly, I thought I need to find another use for myself here, because organising his underwear and putting sparkling water in his bottle is not for me. I need to do something that's using my brain a little bit more. So I took it upon myself. I've quite experienced with video and editing and things like that. So I started doing the video analysis for him, Chaz Davis was really good. He helped me learn how to do that properly. He does that for Bulliger. And yeah, it was really useful to see where we could improve or what we needed to improve. And as Dad was saying earlier about learning about this still year on year, I learned so much in 2 years of doing that about motorbike racing and how it works and what the best of the best are doing. So I found it really, really interesting. I feel like now if I went back and raced, I'd have a much better idea. I didn't have a clue what I was doing at the time. Now I've realised. But it was really good. And then when he jumped on the Ducati, it was like just a breath of fresh air to finally let him be able to ride the way he wants to ride and do what he needed to do. And when it's your brother, you live and breathe this as a family. Although it's not me racing, I still take it home with me and I still get annoyed for him and upset, and you want him to perform, and everything that you read on the internet, we take that on board as a family. It's not just Taz that bears that weight. So as much as he wanted to do well, I wanted him to do well too. And it was amazing. It was just like the biggest relief. We had tears in our eyes when it was like, we knew this all along. We knew what he could do and we knew how good he was. So it was great for him to finally be able to prove that and be on that journey with him. So it was great.
Emil, from your side?
Yeah, same. I mean, like Taylor and I never stopped supporting Taz through his tough 2.5 years, really, and there were a few sort of bright moments, but we just felt for him, really, and we were there to do that. And then I only realised when he jumped onto the MGM bike from Hungary, Taylor and I were talking and going, oh my God, we're enjoying racing like it used to be, because we'd lost that for 2.5 years. We never stopped being optimistic. Taylor with his video analysis, everything we could to help him improve his results, but it was tough. But again, from my perspective, Tarran never stopped training, and I said, please don't stop that, because the opportunity will come, and you want to know that you're in the best condition, because it'd be so easy just to not get up early in the morning, not hammer yourself training, because it's not pleasant when you're getting nothing on the race weekends. So he was giving it his all, as always, and we did as well. But so nice when we started the last 5 rounds, we're just like, oh yeah, this is why we go racing. And then we realised, you always say, oh, just, you've got to keep going, it'll happen, but you never really know. But anyway, it did. So it was just so nice to come out the other end and enjoy it again and go home with results and realise that all the hard work and the pain was worthwhile.
Before we segue back into the bikes, I think that's a great point now to come to 2026. The MGM Optical Express racing team, with the support of David Molsdale here from the Molsdale Foundation and his Optical Express company as well, that's given a massive injection to you, to Michael Gilinski, to the team as a whole, because the end of last season looked a little bit difficult. It was a little bit misty as to what was going to happen for 2026. And then with the help of Jez Murray, between yourself and Michael and David, the deal's come to pass that you're on the grid fully for 2026 with a firm foundation to take what you learned and what you succeeded in the last half of last season into a full championship in 2026.
Yeah, that's it. I got a taste of maybe what real World Superbike was like for the past 5 rounds. So I was just really motivated and hoping that we could carry on. And Michael the team manager, had such a tough start to the year, and things didn't, although they were getting results in Phillip Island, it just never kind of turned out how they thought it would imagine between him and Scott. And Scott had his own ideas and he wanted to do something different, and then that kind of put Michael in a bit of a position. So Michael was unsure and telling staff, maybe you should go look for something new because I'm not sure if I'm going to carry on or not. And then I think with me arriving and maybe being at a different end of the scale to Scott, where I'm just not that he wasn't motivated, but just I just want an opportunity. I think that was the biggest thing. And I think then coming along and getting a few results, and Michael seeing that, it really sparked his desire to go again and try and put everything together. So he worked really hard at the end of last year especially the last 3 rounds, to put something together for myself, which we pretty much had done. And then David came on board. So it was just incredible. So feel really fortunate to be associated with Optical Express and David Molsdale and the Molsdale Foundation, but then just for very grateful for him coming on board, and hopefully he can come to some races this year and see what it's all about. And I think the bike looks great, and it's worked out for a lot of people. So exciting times ahead.
It's given you a bit of relief as well. It was a bit of an intense 3 or 4 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, very much so. And yeah, like Taz said, Michael Galinsky, he was pretty much over it by middle of the year, but enthusiasm came back for all of us. And then you mentioned Jez Murray and Jim Moody, a friend of 40 years, who's also a friend of David Mosedale, had kind of put us together, if you like. And David initially showed a bit of interest. The Scottish connection was there. He likes to look after athletes, and he initially Taz to be ambassador for the Mosedale Foundation, which was fine. We were very proud to do that. But then David started to be a little bit more interested, and then it really was just 3rd of December when I had a call with him, and he said, I'd quite like to bring Optical Express to the party as well. And it was a big job, but of course I said yes, and I was overwhelmed that he wanted to do that for Taz and our family, put them together with Michael, and David and Michael just have made it happen so quickly. And in the normal world, it would be pretty much impossible. Things we had to do in 2 months: bikes, trucks, graphics, staff, team clothing, and we rolled out in Jerez with it all up and running. But it's only because these guys work together so well with their enthusiasm and their professionalism. So, but I was totally stressed for 2 months because I was trying to coordinate the whole thing. But it happened, and when he rolled out the pit lane in Jerez, I started sleeping at night again, so it was good. And of course, I passed all that stress on to my wife as well, so she's quite glad that I'm back in the room there as well.
Being a little bit more present.
Yeah.
And at the same time, trying to balance being a new granddad as well. Congratulations to you and Anna Taylor. Congratulations on the arrival of Sterling. Yeah. I know he's 9 months old now. But it's the first time we've actually sat down and been able to, the grin and Uncle Knobhead on the end there.
Exactly. He's only just taken a liking to me because I'm not at home so often. I dip in and out. I met him probably the day he was born or the day after he was born. And then I didn't see him for 3 months. And then when he started to recognise people, first he was fine, and then he came to visit me and my girlfriend, and then he wasn't a fan. And then kind of I've had to, keep turning up, and eventually he's liked me now, so we're all good. But yeah.
What a change in life from 2021 for you, taking the decision to stop racing the same year that you won the Bennett British Superbike Championship at the pinnacle of your career at that point before you moved on. Then you kind of a little bit of a loss. The YouTube channel is fantastic. There's some great content on there as an investigative journalist. That incredible timing with what you put out there, like with the drugs bust. That fantastic video with the help of Rory Skinner. But how life takes a different path to now being a dad, the videographer, the YouTube channel, the ex-fluffer, but now
video analysis.
It's amazing how life takes different turns.
Because some people don't believe this, but when I was stopping racing, I genuinely had no plan. There was the backup plan of 10 years ago doing my education fell by the wayside because I never went to uni, so I didn't have any qualifications in the end, other than my GCSEs. And when you're a 30-year-old trying to find work for the first time effectively, other than work inside the racing world, is incredibly difficult. So I took a huge leap of faith in my life to just... What I always thought was I'd spend so much time and put so much effort into my racing. If I put that much effort into something else, I would hopefully do okay, because I'd see other people around me not putting anywhere near as much effort in as we put into racing and doing well in work. So that was my plan. I was very fortunate for Michael Laverty to give me a job in Moto3 as a team manager. He was new to running a team. I was new to being a team manager, so we learned along the way together. And it was an incredible experience that then one thing led to another. But now looking back, I wasn't lost after my racing, but I didn't really have a purpose or a plan or any idea what I wanted to do. But it was only when I had a son that focus, and it's like, that is what my life is about now, about being the best dad possible. I could never have done it whilst I raced. We were so selfish as racers. And I don't believe anyone that says it doesn't affect the racing. For me personally, this would have affected my racing massively. We're so dedicated and hell-bent on making it happen that I couldn't have imagined having a child in that. So I'm incredibly fortunate that I've done it now. I love Sterling to bits, and Anna, my fiance. We have a great time, and our whole life is geared around Sterling now. And it's funny how that's actually given me more purpose in my work, that I've now got that focus, that's what it's all about, is giving him the best life possible. So I'm determined to keep him off motorbikes and away from all of this nonsense, but he has already got a PW50, and I think he actually got his first sponsorship the other day as well from Kiddie Moto.
Where you ride?
It all starting again.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go again.
Whether you like it or
Yeah.
But what the most important thing he's learned is how not to be a mad dad. So that he'll take that to.
No, he's getting up at 6 in the morning.
He's
Yeah, the gym before.
I had to do it. So you.
I can imagine that with Taylor, with his education background and being overqualified, you can imagine he's going to be that kind of dad. Well, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do it this way. And this is how it's going to be. It is, isn't it?
I've just given him darts. That's all. I'm just having my bits all day, every day. In a pub. He could throw them for £1 million. It's a far better career move, if you ask me, than motorbike racing. Far less dangerous as well.
It is. It's not done Luke Littler any harm, has it? He's doing all right for himself. We look back at these bikes again, Neil, with the YZR 500, the top 5 at Mizano.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a 91 bike. I was, as both boys have been at a bit of a kind of cul-de-sac in my career at the middle of 1991. I was riding an uncompetitive Honda in World Superbike and British Superbike, and I needed to stop, which I did. I was proud of never quitting, but sometimes you just got to. I was riding around with people that didn't even know who they were. So it was, anyway, I was given an opportunity by Yamaha France to do a few wildcard rounds towards the end of 1991.
You know James Whittam now.
I did the transatlantic March series in 91, and on this uncompetitive Honda, and I was riding around with people that didn't, and I had some friends come along and they said, how will we they didn't see me in my life, how will we recognise me when you're out? I said, I'll be at the back, I'll be like towards the back, last 2 or 3, riding around with riders I've never heard of and don't know who they were, and that's where I was in my career. So I needed to get out, and it wasn't getting any better. It was the same every weekend. Anyway, I was given a lifeline with Yamaha France. 4 GPs end of 91, and I finished, best result was 5th in Mugello with this bike. And then I was hired again back in 500 GPs with Yamaha France in 92, so it kind of resurrected my career. And then in 1999, Yamaha France got in touch with me and said, we've ended up with your 91 bike. It's been parked in a corner gathering dust for 7 years or whatever. Would you like to buy it? And I said, no, I've got too many bikes and it's too expensive. And they said, well, we're going to prep it back to race prep, and if you do want it, let us know, but I'm sure someone else will buy it. And that's, soon after, I spoke to a few people and said, if you get a chance to buy an YZR 500, then you've got to grab it, because they don't factory bike and you get another chance. So gathered all my pennies together and raided Jan's bank account, and then they delivered it to Donington Park at the end of 99. So and it's been in my possession ever since. So very proud now that he will live in the Millsdale Museum.
A fine example of 19. The same standard Wayne Rainey was riding on the YZR 500 back in that time.
Yeah, very much. It's beautiful battery Yamaha, and it's nice. It's not a rock. Most popular question is, you still got your rock, Neil? Which I don't. Nothing upsets me much in life, but if people say you got a rock, that will trigger the chimp. It's a YZR factory bike, as I've said many times as you were interviewing me there.
Was that the Valvoline one? Was that the rock?
Yeah, that's. I rode 2 rocks, Valvoline in 93 and Slick 50, and very good bikes they were too, but they're not factory.
The one you put on the podium?
I did, yeah.
At Donington Park in 93?
Yeah. Fun fact.
Yeah, Carl Fogg.
Actually, that bike stayed. The reason it stayed with Yamaha France or Serge Rossi was to to design the rock, to sort of measure things up, and they use that as a bit of a template. So that's why normally these bikes go back to Japan end of the year, but Yamaha France ended up having it in their shed, so that's where it came to me.
Great story. And then next to it, the culmination of 3 years with Rob Mack.
Yeah.
The championship winning YZF 750.
Yeah, 96, 97 and 98, I won the championship with Cadbury's Boost, and that is the 96 bike. So in 1997, we were given upgrades, so there was new spec bikes came along, and that bike became, we only had 3 bikes in the team, we had 1 bike each and then 1 spare, so that became the spare bike after 96. And then at the end of 98, when the R7 came along, these were moved on, and I was lucky enough to be actually given that by Yamaha UK, so it's been in my possession ever since, and then we still get a run out to, and 30 years this year, so
it will be, yeah.
Going to be making an appearance at a few BSB rounds. So.
And you did a great video at Knockhill last year, over 1 million views on YouTube.
Yeah,
I stole my dad's racing colours.
Yeah, we it was a bit of a funny story, really. If you haven't watched the video, that this opportunity came for that bike to be ridden. So I took it upon myself to go and get a set of Cadbury's Boost leathers made by Alpine Stars, went to Rock and got them to make me a custom helmet, spent months planning all of this for Dad to ride it the week before, and went, oh, the clutch is slipping, I'm not going to bother bringing that bike to Knockhill next week. So I, in my mad panic, said, I think we should. And anyway, we did bring it.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, but I'm quite good at it if they tell me to do something. I normally just go with the flow anyway. It's easier than arguing. So I did bring the bike along, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, it was a cool game.
Special.
How cool was that for you to see?
It's just, so special. I've wanted for a long time to see Alpine Stars, Boost leathers. It just and the work he did behind the scenes, and it could have, you'd see in the video if you watch the video how it could have gone wrong so many times, but he appeared with these leathers and helmet and the things it's incredible. So fair play. It was a proud dad moment. So it's all good.
The 3 years with Rob Mack in the Cadbury Boost team, the first ever British Superbike champion in its iteration now under Stuart Higgs in the MCRCB, a triple champion. What's your best Rob Mack story from those 3 years? One that we can share.
Yeah, Rob Mack. Before and after these 3 years or 4 years with him, I was his best mate. During the 3 years, there was a little bit of friction involved because I had a teammate, and Rob wanted me to be fit. I was a bit obsessed with just beating everyone on the grid, including my teammate. So we had a few moments that tested our friendship, because he would have one opinion about what I should be doing with my teammate, and I would have another. So, but yeah, there was incredible years. Rob calls it the purple patch. Stories with Rob Mack. We were quite serious about just getting on with racing then. There's certainly a few stories in our Grand Prix years that might not want to be told again, but
these are the stories that you'll find out about.
We'd found out about through Rob.
I think, he was, I was employed with Yamaha UK, which was nice, and then Rob did the rest of the team. So we very rarely got fed properly. Rob would be making sandwiches with salami and margarine on a weekend and things like that. But I appreciate it kept the budget for the important things. But no, I can't repeat any of the stuff in my head right now about Rob Mack over these years. So it was all good fun. He's an incredible team manager and good mate, and he gave us some incredible bikes. I was very lucky to win the championship for 3 years. I will say I probably had the best bike in the grid, and the only way I justify me being champion 3 times was I had strong teammates that pushed me all the way every year. So, who also had the same bike, so I did have to beat someone on the same bike. But yeah, incredible.
2 great lads in Witt and Chris Walker.
Yeah, Chris Walker and Steve Hislop.
And Hizzy as well, of course.
I mean, all 3 super fast and could take it to me most weekends. But kind of over the 3 years, I managed to get to the end and front. So it was definitely challenging, but really satisfying. I think the last year with Steve Islop, he was so fast and I had to dig so deep. I didn't like it at the time, and I didn't particularly like Steve at the time, and I didn't like myself for not liking him, but the reason I didn't like him because he was so fast and so good, and I had to dig so deep to try and either stay with him or get one over him every weekend. So, and the day I stopped racing, we became best mates, and he's special, Steve. But that year wasn't the most enjoyable year, but it was the most satisfying year, and it really kind of made me dig deep. So it was, and yeah, an amazing end to my career, really.
Coming on to 2026 now, Taz, you head out, well, all three of you head out to Australia in a fortnight's time, there or thereabouts. You got a pre-opening season test, as always.
Yeah.
There's a 3 days on track.
2 days.
2 days on
Tuesday,
track.
yeah.
And then the following weekend, then you everything kicks off for real. But
Yeah.
testing's been such a washout for everybody so far, hasn't it? Not really any meaningful laps at Portimao and a handful of shakedown laps at Jerez. That's been the sum total for, I think, pretty much everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. 2 days in Jerez, and then we had about 4 or 5 days off, and then 2 days in Portimao. But first day in Jerez was pretty much a washout. There was the odd guy going out, and then in the second day in the afternoon, it just about dried out. But in the morning, there was 20 hire cars driving around the track trying to just do something, trying to dry it because it's so cold. Jerez takes forever to dry, and even at that point, the 20, 30 laps everyone got in, there was still wet patches at a few corners. So yeah, it was difficult. Like, I know for the Ducati, any Ducati rider, you're having to just do a number of laps just to put a few miles on the bike and make sure they're all okay. So quality laps was pretty hard, really, and it was getting to a point where you could maybe try and start changing some things, and then the rain came. So and then everyone's packing up ready for Portimao, and getting news articles coming through that Portimao is about to be hit with the worst storm in 10 years or something. And we got there and it just basically didn't stop raining the whole time. So started to dry a little bit on the first day, and then it just rained again. So pretty much no one rode in Portimao tests. So everyone's going to Australia with 25 laps under the belt, which is a bit mad, but hopefully the 2 days we get there, we can put some more miles on the bikes.
You gentlemen looking forward to the season coming up now? Renewed vim and vigour for the 26 season?
Yeah, very much so. And Taz has had 5 races with the V4 Ducati, and so got good base settings. And I think, like he says, everyone's in the same boat. So it's so nice for us to go knowing that he can be competitive with a good team and staff around them. So Taylor can do his video analysis, and I can hang up his underpants in between practices.
Better at that.
I'm better. I'm much better. That's where my skills lie. So yeah, very much looking forward to it, and the rest of the season. And it's just so nice to show up. We're really look forward to meeting everyone every day in the team, and it's a pleasure. So the joy's been brought back into racing for us. So long may it continue.
I can't wait to see how 2026 unfolds with the MGM Optical Express racing team for 2026. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We're going to grab a bit of lunch. We've got the stage set for the Q&A this afternoon in front of a live audience. Our next open day, 22nd of March, with Brian Morrison and Ian McPherson. If you want to come along, molsdalefoundation.org to get your tickets. But in the meantime, Neil, Taylor, Tarran, thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, Dave.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you.